Pokemon Sun and Moon. I don't think there's ever been a time when Pokemon fans were so split. Even to this day, 7 years later, people in the comments still complain and rant about how bad the Sun and Moon anime was. I mean, the Pokemon anime back in 2015 was a completely different time. The X, Y, and Z series was hyped up so much by fans because of Ash Greninja, Mega Evolution, and the companions, most notably Serena. But overall, the series is still praised to be one of, if not the best Pokemon series to ever exist according to most fans. Now, I was an avid Pokemon watcher back when Sun and Moon came out, but I do remember having seen most XY episodes up to that point and having just watched the end. Like most people, I was eager to continue my obsession with Pokemon onto the next show. So I hopped on my couch, laid back, grabbed the TV remote, and saw Pokemon Sun and Moon playing on Disney XD. Now I'm all excited and ready to watch the next chapter of Pokemon. The first episode starts and all of a sudden I'm immediately disappointed. What happened to you? Ash! Why do you look all I endured through the first few episodes to wait and see if the story picked up where Kalos ended. But after I found out that this was a brand new story, I decided to do what any sane person would do and go back to watching Pokemon XY. Yes, that's right. It only took a few episodes of suffering to go right back and watch the better series. As I'm relaxing, enjoying the XY series again, I'm reflecting to myself what I had just witnessed. Why didn't they just stick with the cool art style? They literally had it perfect. And the story? Where's Serena? All of these thoughts were circling my 10-year-old brain. Why couldn't they have just stuck with the XY formula? Why did they have to change things up? This, from what I've interpreted throughout many comment sections and others' opinions online, was the way most people reacted upon first watching the Sun and Moon anime. There were so many diehard XY fans going right into Sun and Moon feeling like they had just lost one of their favorite series because it was unrecognizable to them. The animation style was completely scrapped for this really cartoony Yokai Watch inspired animation. It makes sense too because at the time, Yokai Watch was one of Pokemon's biggest competitors and Pokemon being Pokemon wanted to quote-unquote copy their formula for their own. I also heard it might be due to the animators having an easier time of displaying emotion, which if you've watched the Sun and Moon anime, you'll know that there's tons of emotions constantly on the characters' faces to entertain the younger viewers. If you couple that with the fact that Ash is no longer battling in gyms, you can see why so many fans, including myself, bounced from the show. And yes, there were a lot of people who hated these changes that happened in Sun and Moon. But hold on, I wouldn't be talking about this if something didn't change. Something happened next which really took a turn for me that changed my whole perspective of the Sun and Moon anime. Okay, so I said I was around 10 years old when I first started watching the Sun and Moon series, and that was around when it first aired on TV. There were probably only like 20 episodes at the time in English. Flash forward 5 or so years later, and I found myself back on another couch, bored with nothing to do, and I had an idea that snuck into my head. You know what? I'm gonna go watch the XY series again. Why? Because it has Goodra. So after a few months of binging the X, Y, and Z series, I came to the end. Pretty impressed as how good it was even all these years later. But then I remembered, wasn't there a Pokemon series that came after the XY series? Yup, Pokemon Sun and Moon. Hey! I clicked on the first episode, and PTSD already started rolling in. Not the animation! It hurts! Rise! But I said to myself, I must endure. Don't give up! Remember what Ash said. Never give up till it's over. And so I continued. I persevered through it. First episode goes by, pretty decent. Second episode, okay, not too bad. Third episode, we got Team Rocket, awesome. Fourth episode, and I'm already singing along with the intro. I can get used to this heat on my skin. Bow. It's been almost half a dozen episodes later, and I no longer feel resentment for the goofy animation style. In fact, I'm used to it. And actually, I got to the point where I'm starting to like it now. Of course, when it comes down to this animation or XY, I'll still prefer XY, but it works for the series and style of, well, Alola. And speaking of Alola, I mean, talk about an amazing atmosphere. Who doesn't like a tropical island filled with Pokemon? Every episode feels so dreamy, and it's like they say, they're on an actual vacation. I think I love it so much that it inspired me to pack my bags and now I'm moving to Hawaii. See you later! See you later! Let's go back to the start of the series because I'm skipping over a lot of the problems / things I like about the series. The first big change is the Pokemon School. Now at first the concept of this sounds really boring and stupid, and I agree, but then again, it's actually quite cool. After a while, you start to get attached to this environment and big treehouse school that they're in. Plus, most of the characters are pretty interesting. Besides a few oddballs here and there, I got sucked into this place as if it was Ash's second home. And speaking of home, I mean, they literally give Ash a house to live at with the main man, Professor Kukui, who he can have a whole video of his own dedicated to why he's such a great character in this show. I guess Ash living at Kukui's is another big change because compared to all other series where we're used to seeing Ash traveling from town to town, forest to forest, in this series he just stayed at this house, went to school, and traveled around to the other islands. And I personally admire the change of pace, and it felt like it got old and predictable watching him go on the same route as he does in the games. If you played the games, you can predict where Ash will go just by what gym leader he defeated and what town he's in. Like, you know if he defeated the first gym, he's gonna go the second gym, and then the third gym, and then so on. In Sun and Moon, there are no gyms. There's island challenges and kahunas who are like gym leader type people for each island of Alola, but also different in the sense that you can go to any of them at any time, whenever. And okay, I may not prefer the island kahunas over the gym leaders, however, they are a good change of pace for the series. We can't talk about the Sun and Moon anime without mentioning Team Rocket. Why Team Rocket? Haven't they been around since the beginning? Aren't they just there for the plot anyways? Who cares? I care. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Team Rocket in this series maximized the humor aspect of things and downsized the annoying aspect of things, which was probably the part that most fans were complaining about for years anyway. Compare Team Rocket from SM to XY and it's a 9-day difference. One shows up in every episode to battle Ash and sometimes capture Pikachu and does weird stuff. The other has fun Pokemon with unique personalities, only shows up when needed, and has the most entertaining Pokemon of all right by their side. And that Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen, is Beware. The amount of times Beware just comes out of nowhere to snatch Team Rocket and fly away while holding them like they're ragdolls is just too many to count, and it never gets old because Beware is so entertaining every time it's on screen. This is by far the best Team Rocket we'll ever see, and they add so much entertainment value to the series, which is another added bonus. What about the companions? Yes, there are a lot, which means not all of them are going to get equal screen time and equal development. But that's okay, because the characters they chose to focus on were really fun and interesting. Besides maybe Lana, whom I think they gave a bit too much attention to, where instead they should have given some other characters screen time who desperately needed more development for us to give a poop about them. Either way, even if not every character was given the best development, they still felt to me as if they were a little family friend group, and Kukui is like their dad who helps them out in their journeys. I know most people love Lily because of the plot she received from the Aether Foundation story and her family, but I think Kiawe was the best. He's like a slightly worse version of Brock, but I mean, it's hard to beat Brock since he's the greatest of all time. Kiawe and Ash just shared this great brotherly bond together, making them really enjoyable to watch. And you gotta love this man Kiawe's rages. He rages over some of the dumbest stuff in Pokemon. It's great to watch. The one major flaw of the series, other than the weird animation, is the lack of battles we see. Usually Ash is constantly fighting other trainers whom he encounters throughout his journey. However, since Ash isn't wandering the forest anymore, he has to go outside and ask permission to battle other people. It also doesn't help that in Alola, nobody is really a serious Pokemon trainer. Probably why Ash won this league, to be honest, but it's still something most fans wish they got to see more of. Now, I personally don't mind him not battling constantly as much as others do because the environment of Alola sucks you in, where you almost want to relax and hang out with your buddies and of course the Pokemon. Alola just has something about it that it's so majestical. Anyway, about the Pokemon Ash caught, we got the legendary Rowlet, who was my personal favorite. Rockruff, who later evolved into a dusk form Lycanroc, only the most special for our boy Ash. Come on, I mean, you know they did this because giving Ash a unique exclusive Pokemon form draws in lots of hype for the series, as we see in XY with Ash Greninja. Litten, who later became Torracat and then Incineroar by the end of the series, was a fun little fire cat with a sad backstory. Poipole, who later became Naganadel, was an Ultra Beast, which was a surprising guess to say the least, and then a Meltan who evolved into a Melmetal for the sake of making Ash OP so he could sweep the Alola League, which was great to see, especially after he got robbed at the Kalos League. Finally, I saved the best for last. The greatest Pokemon he had was none other than Solgaleo himself, starring as Nebby. Too bad you forgot to catch this one. This squad was honestly probably Ash's greatest team in terms of personality. Each had their own development that felt well fitted, especially Rowlet. I would even argue that this team is a contender of Ash's best teams in terms of raw power and strength since he won the Alola League with these guys. Now before I go on talking about how bad the Alola League was, let's first talk about Gladion, the main rival. I think Gladion was a well done rival, not as good as someone like Paul, but had the qualities you would expect from someone destined to clash against Ash in the finals. He was an edgy guy who seemed like the Alon type Sigma male who does his own path and he is mostly seen alone. Good thing he wasn't fooled by anyone like Alon was. Oh wait. Whoops. I mean, Gladion obviously was going to be an interesting character regardless because it's Lily's brother and his connections with the Aether Foundation story, but other than that, he had a cool Lycanroc, who had a rivalry with Ash's cool Lycanroc, which was great to see because it added more drama to the main fight of the Alola League, and yes, now we can talk about that. So the first part of the league becomes a battle royale, because of course it does. The people who you'd expect to won and move on to the battling stage. And here's where things get interesting. Probably the most memeable one was the battle between Hau versus Ash, with his Decidueye going up against Ash's overpowered Rowlet. Of course, Ash wins and Rowlet takes Decidueye down by only using 0.1% of his power. Pretty impressive for Rowlet. Ash versus Guzma, the evil gang leader, was a pretty fun one. And then Ash versus Gladion in the finals was, yeah, amazing. I bet most people thought Ash was gonna choke another league win, but he actually managed to beat everyone. Even Professor Kukui, who I'd say is a tougher opponent because he got to use Mega Tapu Koko. All in all, great league, great rival, great Pokemon, great characters, great story, and this has to be my favorite series. It's either this or XY, and I'm always debating in my head which one I prefer more. Going back to the main point of this video, why is Pokemon Sun and Moon so hated? Well, it's simply because we got a huge drastic change from XY that triggered a lot of fans into not watching the series. Most people acted like I did when I was younger and dipped after the first few episodes to watch XY again. However, upon rewatching the whole series, I can say without a shadow of a doubt this is probably the best series we have ever gotten, period. That is still a controversial opinion to say, but for those who disagree, I encourage you to watch Sun and Moon anime from start to finish and tell me whether or not you still hate the series, because I'd be pretty surprised if you still do. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed my review and let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. Discord right here. Join now. Bye!